Hi friends, and welcome to the 1840 podcast, where each month we explore a different topic, balancing modern sensibilities with traditional sensitivities to give you new approaches to timeless Jewish ideas. I'm your host, David Beshefkin, and this month we're continuing our exploration of the war in Israel. This podcast is part of a larger exploration of those big, juicy Jewish ideas, so be sure to check out 1840.org, that's 18forty.org, where you can also find videos, articles, recommended readings, and weekly emails. I also want to add just two initiatives that we are doing on 1840 that, sometimes can get lost in the shuffle, especially with so much going on in the world, particularly in Israel. Number one, and you may already know about this, we did a special episode on it, but it came out right after Simchas Torah that week, where obviously our minds were elsewhere. But I did want to mention again, and it's really been such a wonderful journey, I am doing a weekly Substack and set of shiurim classes on the All Parsha app called Reading Jewish History in the Parsha. This is part of our larger effort of just highlighting amazing books, amazing Shabbos reads, and every single week we share a Parsha idea along with a major incident in Jewish history. And the best part is on the Substack, which you could get at Reading Jewish History in the Parsha.substack.com, and the audio is available exclusively on the All Parsha app. But we list all the books and articles that went into just to understand more about these exciting, curious, really eye-opening incidents in Jewish history that you can check out. So again, that's Reading Jewish History in the Parsha, and thank you to our sponsors of that, Janet and Lior Hode and family, with immense gratitude to Hashem. I am so grateful for their partnership and support. A second initiative I want to mention, which is really, really exciting, we're doing it again, and that is the 1840 book journeys. And this time we are doing it for all of our Malka Simkovich fans, who's been a guest twice on 1840. In the summer, 1840 launched its first ever book journey, which was exploring Halacha and Israel with Rabbi Eli Fisher. For those who don't know, these book journeys are a blend between a book club and a course. It's for 3 months. You read 3 books, attend monthly sessions, have weekly discussion boards, and read and learn to master a topic. So you really know for once what you're actually talking about. It's great. And it's all through books and scholars, and it's really wonderful. It really brings together 1840's love of learning with our love for books. And starting December 24th, you can join our newest book journey with Malka Simkovich. And this book journey is exploring what is the essence of anti-Semitism. Unfortunately, this topic has become especially relevant over the last 2 months. But this book journey is really working with Malka's expertise to understand the history, the fundamentals, and the core characteristics of anti-Semitism. Dr. Malka Simkovich really understands this at the core of so much of her work. She is always eye-opening, and I have no doubt that you will enjoy this journey. A huge thank you to my dearest friend, Morty Jacobs, who really is the sponsor behind the entire book journey initiative. I am incredibly grateful for his friendship, which goes back a very, very long way. We know each other since elementary school. He's just been an incredible friend, and bringing these book journeys to our audience, which are a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate, to really develop an expertise is absolutely wonderful. So please sign up now. It's going to be something incredible. You have until December 20th to sign up on our website. That's 1840.org/Simkovich book journey. It's $18.40 a month. And it's an amazing opportunity to support our work while immersing into the world of books and ideas. So be sure to check out both of those. Number one, Reading Jewish History in the Parsha, and our next book journey. We hope to see you there. There is a jaw-dropping idea that I have been thinking about a lot lately, that Reb Tzadok HaKohen Melublin, Reb Tzadok is the Hasidic teacher who informs and animates so much of my own thought, and he has a really incredible idea that I wanted to share because I think it frames in a lot of ways the sentiment of today's episode. In the Torah, in Parshas Korach, there is a debate between Korach, who's this personality, who's kind of this rebel who breaks off, and he's ultimately punished. And one of the things that Korach says in the Torah is that he has the claim that Ki kol ha'eda kulam kedoshim, the entire nation of the Jewish people, they are all holy. And many of the commentators want to know, what's so wrong with that? He calls the entire nation holy. Is that such a problem? Is he so wrong in saying that? And there are many different approaches. And Reb Tzadok says something that's quite remarkable, where he says, in fact, Korach was not wrong. He was right. The entire nation is at that level, is incredibly holy. The reason why he was punished is not because that statement is wrong, it's because it is too early to say that. We're only going to be able to realize the inherent holiness of every single Jew and the inherent holiness of the Jewish people. That there's almost like no different levels or different spheres where Jews should be judged upon, but we're all together in that holiness. Reb Tzadok says he's not wrong, but he's too early. That is something that we'll only be able to realize in the end of times. Until the end of times, look, you have Jews who are doing the right thing, you have Jews who are doing the wrong thing. Not everybody is infused with holiness, not everybody is on such a transcendent level. So Reb Tzadok essentially says that this notion of the inherent holiness of the Jewish people is not something that is wrong, but it needs to wait for the right time. And in some ways, as we get closer, as it feels like we're getting closer to that ultimate redemption with the world in such upheaval, it feels like in some ways we're able to squint. If we squint close enough, we're already beginning to see a glimmer, a glance at that idea of seeing the inherent holiness, the inherent purposefulness of how every single Jew around the world is chipping in and connecting and joining together in this mission of defending and uplifting the Jewish people. We're not all the way there, and not everyone's doing the right thing. But if you squint and you look closely and graciously, and you look through eyes, redemptive eyes, eyes that insist upon seeing the good, we're starting to get a little bit closer where that description of Korach, of Kikol Ha'eda Kulam Kedoshim, that the entire nation, the entire body of the Jewish people has already achieved that success, that ultimate redemptive success of everyone being in line with their own purposefulness. It seems in some ways that if you look close enough, we're beginning to taste that. We're beginning to taste that redemptive vision of what a enlightened and uplifted Jewish people could even look like and could even seem like. And in some ways, in so many of the conversations that relate to what's been happening in the aftermath of October 7th, a lot has focused on the incredible leadership of the Jewish people. We have some incredible leaders who have stepped forward. We've emphasized some of those voices and centered some of those voices. And one thing that I feel like has been missing is really talking to almost, again, it's hard to even describe. There's no such thing as your everyday Israeli Jew anymore, because each one is contributing at such an incredible level, and every single Jew has this incredible story. It's almost like a wealth of this overabundance when people tap into their purpose and when people really are able to embrace the transcendence of this moment, as it feels like we're doing right now collectively. It feels like there's no such thing as ordinary anymore. Everybody has a story. Everybody's involved in some angle. And I feel like that's something really important to highlight, which is the transcendence, the extraordinary sacrifice, mission focus, purpose focus that this moment has invited us to participate in, which is why I am so excited for today's conversation, which is somebody who my guess is most, if not all, of our listeners have not heard of. She's an incredible woman, somebody who, even with her English, which is not perfect, and I hope that you listen graciously. I tried to step in as often as possible if a word didn't come out perfectly or clearly, but to listen with graciousness and to see just how extraordinary the quote-unquote ordinary Jews have become and what we've transformed into in this moment, in accepting this invitation from history and accepting and stepping into and embracing the opportunity and the urgency and the transcendence of this moment. I'm so excited and really feel privileged to center a voice that I did not know until we were introduced. We were introduced by a mutual friend, one of our listeners who was gracious enough to reach out. I really do encourage people to reach out and share their stories, connect us with people. What are the voices, ideas, and people we should be highlighting in this moment? And in all moments, but particularly now, is so important. And I'm so grateful to our friend, Rabbi Yigal Sklarin. He's an old friend. One day, we'll introduce him to the entire audience. He is just a fascinating and really just a wonderful person, honestly, and I feel very blessed to count him as a friend, somebody who has counseled me in a lot of different issues, moments of tension, moments of exasperation, desperation that I've had over the years running 1840. But he reached out and said, you know what, I want to connect you to somebody because this is somebody really special that's worth introducing, and he was 100% correct. Our guest today is Noa Lewis. She's the founder and CEO of Echad in Yerushalayim. She works with Zok, which is like the Chevra Kadisha. We'll explain that's not the word that they use, but really give that final honor to those who've been killed in war. Her husband and her sons are in active duty right now, and I was just so moved by her sense of focus and her sense of purpose, and almost how self-effacing. After the interview, she told me, I am so uncomfortable with this, and I'm uncomfortable with the amount of praise that you have given me, which to me was the most moving praise to give her, which is that she is able to embrace the moment and the opportunity that stands before us right now without looking at herself as a hero, which I very much think that she is, but understanding and appreciating that within the ordinary, within our everyday lives, we are all sent on a mission to contribute and to uplift, and she has stepped into this moment completely, and that is why I am so privileged to introduce our conversation with Noa Lewis. It really is a privilege to speak today with Noa Lewis, and I want to make sure that I get your title correct. You are the representative of the Rabbanut for the Chevra Kadisha for women in Eretz Yisrael. Is that correct?
No. First of all, I'm not a representative. I'm not official representative. I'm in the team.
You're on the team.
Yeah, because they didn't send me. I didn't ask permission, right? We can talk, but it's not they don't call it Chevra Kadisha. They're actually strict about it. They call it Sevet Zok, which is Zihui Vekvura. They differentiate between Chevra Kadisha and the unit in the army. Even that we all Chevra Kadisha women there, so we're there because we are Chevra Kadisha.
1,000%, 1,000%. There's so much going on in your life, and there's so much that you have done. Maybe we could begin with the actual events of October 7th and what your role is. Again, it's called Zuk. You'll forgive me if I refer to it accidentally as Chevra Kadisha. A lot of the listeners know that that's the burial society that takes place. But maybe we could begin by, how did you find out? How did the events unfold in your life when you discovered, as all of Klal Yisrael, as all the Jewish people found out, the events of October 7th? How did you find out, and what was your first kind of responsibility to respond?
Okay, so Shabbos morning, walked with my husband to Shul Simchas Torah. I left home with my husband. We walked together. We actually were talking about how nice it is that Hashem has this extra day with us. And after being in the sukkah and feeling so protected, and the feeling of a sukkah, like a warm, like cuddled,
like a hug.
Yeah. So we have an extra day. And when we walked out of our home towards the shul, we had booming, and we saw the patriots in the sky, and we thought, this is so weird. And then there was the azaka, and we kept walking. I mean, we were very chilled. We're not stressed. We thought something happened, maybe one missile or two. And then during shul, there were a few azakot, and we had to go to the basement, and there were elderly people, and people started to speak and say that they're killing people in the street. I didn't believe it. Like, I was so much waiting for Simchat Torah that I didn't want to think all these rumors are correct. I thought there may be a terror attack or something, and I can't do anything about it. And if I can't do anything about it, I can just daven and love the Torah more and be strong with my community. But then slowly we realized that we have to go home. I mean, my husband stopped the davening and said, let's go home.
Which community? Your husband serves as a communal Rav?
Yeah, we live in Efrat, and there's a shul in the Dekel neighborhood called Tiferet Avot.
Beautiful.
The best shul ever. I'm very biased. Amazing community and beautiful people. Yeah, so people started to go to Miluim. They've been called to the army, and the ambulances and emergency teams started to leave shul. We just said, okay, let's go home and finish the hakafot in the afternoon, evening. Hopefully it will be quiet. And then everybody went home. And when we went home, my husband opened his phone, and he was called to go up north. He's a rabbi of a battalion, Gdud in Chativat Alexandroni. They always practice up north for years. He was actually supposed to be straight after Simchat Torah, going for 2 weeks up north to train. So he packed his stuff. And then my son came from Jerusalem. He was there for Simchat Torah, quickly packed his stuff, and he went towards Gaza. And my other son, all my kids left home and started to go to different directions. I opened my phone, and I could see a message that I need to go also to the base. I had a problem because I didn't have a car. My husband took the car. So I waited for the end of Shabbat because I knew I can wait. It takes time until, we can start working, until everybody came from the south. And then I just grabbed a neighbor in the street. I said, okay, please take me to the base. Hanei Shura. It's next to Ramle. That's it. We've just been thrown to the situation situation of big trucks coming and the room is full.
And everyone in your family is kind of like dispersed, taking a different post in the command. What was your work? Where did you go when you finally showed up? What was your responsibility?
Basically, I'm part of this unit in the army for 10 years already, and we even been drafted to the army like properly. So I'm a chayalet and I have mispar ishi, the personal number and everything I'm registered in. And we do it during the year when Lo Aleinu there's a chayalet that been killed, so we look after her. It's not only Chevra Kadisha work. Basically, when the chayalet arrives, so we need to do identification, we need to check medical things. Many times it's seeing the reason of the death. If it's a terror attack and someone shot her, they want to see the bullets. It's very important for the family, for the future, for the life of Am Yisroel, for everybody to understand the reason of the death, to try to avoid and to learn as much as you can. And we're there with the chayalet, protecting her and making sure she's covered and making sure the halacha and all the Jewish values is being cared for her. It's a very special moment. And then once she's ready, we prepare her for burial.
What drew you into this line of work, which to me, like the confrontation with death, you want to avoid it at all costs. You don't want to think about it. We do so much of our day to not think about death. You said you've been doing this for 10 years. What drew you to get involved in this specific line of work?
So first of all, part of Chevra Kadisha, I think I'm more than half of my life. I was in the very early of my 20s when my husband decided together to go on shlichut, and we did a course to be a community rabbi, communities in the diaspora, and part of the course was seeing Chevra Kadisha, and we were young women, and all of them were like, oh my gosh, it's dead people, it's so scary. And I just thought to myself in that moment, maybe I'll need to know how to do it. And if I need to know how to do it, I better learn now. So it was like, I'm on shlichut. This is my shlichut, so I have to know how to do it. So I went in and then I thought to myself, okay, I know that for people from outside, it sounds crazy and it sounds very special and people think that we are heroes. I'm going to give my view that everybody has a shlichut. Everybody have different resilience and different gifts from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I feel Chevra Kadisha and looking after giving the Avod Amet and preparing him La'olam Haba is a zchut, first of all. It's a tremendous zchut, if you can say. And I don't feel so much comfortable with the kavod that people give to it. I think there's a lot of holiness in it, but when you do it, you do it. I look at people that, my sister is looking up in a kindergarten of little kids for hours every day. I think it's, in many ways, it might be harder. Or people that sit with families and telling them that the child was killed, or there's so much to do, merubim tzarkei amcha, and everybody has his shlichut. And Baruch Hashem, I have this chosen, and it's not easy always, but it's a gift. And I thank Hashem for that. I really thank Hashem for that.
That's so true and so incredible. Merubim tzarchei amcha, the needs of our people, of the Jewish people, are incredibly great and wide and diverse. So you oversee the tahara process. You were in the middle of describing what exactly you do, and then you'll maybe take me through what you did when you arrived at the base.
Maybe to explain, usually tahara, not only, Chevra Kadisha here, we do in Gush Etzion and in Efrat or other places. You clean the niftar and you prepare him with the tachrichim, the special clothes, before the funeral. In the army, it's a bit different. We also put, like in Chutz La'aretz, we call it halal.
Which is the corpse.
Yeah, the chayal, a soldier that was killed, in Hebrew called halal. It's not only for soldiers, but it actually means space, and it is a halal, because there's a lot of, like, sort of a vacuum, or there's an empty space that he leaves behind. I feel like it's very appropriate, because I feel the halal is full of kedusha, and the neshama memala et halal. I don't feel like the halal is empty. It's not a vacuum with nothing. It's a halal that is being filled with something that you maybe can't see physically, but you can definitely feel it. So in the army, it's a little bit of a different process. And when you have harugei malchut, when you have people that were killed just because they're Jewish people from terror attack or in a war, so you don't do tehara. The main reason is that you want to keep the blood in, לעורר את חמתו של הקדוש ברוך הוא, את הזעם, that Hashem יעורר חמתו על הגויים.
Can I translate that just for any of our listeners? They deliberately keep the clothing and anything that was soaked with blood to awaken the mercy and even the anger, so to speak, of God, to see what has happened to your people, what has actually just occurred. So you don't clean up in the way that you normally do when somebody is murdered for being a Jew.
And you don't do tahara, and you try to bury with clothes. And that's the halacha that we keep.
So take me through when you got to the base, where did they send you and what exactly were you involved with?
So there's a special center where they bring all the Chayalim and the Chayalot. And this is where we started the process of identifying them. People don't understand sometimes why it takes a while, but it's unbelievable the effort and there's like big rabbis sitting there with big halachic questions of how to identify and how to make sure that chas v'shalom, there's any mistakes. And obviously when we had those big numbers, it was a big shock. Our base, we have parties for the Chayalim and parties for the citizens. So we had to sort and see who is a Chayal and who is, people from the houses and children. So we also saw them, but they went to a different area. We looked only after the Chayalim and people, Anshe Bitachon. After we receiving them, we started to do the identification process and then the Tahara process once they 100% identify. And that means preparing them for burial and putting the on, and we have special rooms only for women. We light the candles, we ask mechila from the chayelet, and we try and you don't speak, you keep quiet.
Asking mechila, you ask for forgiveness from the person who had just passed away.
Yeah.
Is there a specific language that you do when you ask mechila?
You try to do it a few times, like if you have to carry or something, you say mechila, like sorry, but in the end you usually say in behalf of the Chevra Kadisha, we want to say that whatever we did was for your kavod, for your honor. And if we did something wrong, we ask for mechila, for slicha, forgiveness. This is it.
That's incredibly moving. So life in Israel has changed dramatically. You said you have a husband who's in the front lines and you have children, I think multiple children who are serving. Explain to me a little bit about how this has affected Israeli society and like the feel in your community. Do you feel the absence of all the people who are now serving? Like, is there I'm going to use the language you use, like a halal almost, like a vacuum of you sense that so much of the population is out serving? Is it noticeable? What does it feel like on a communal level?
It's interesting because maybe the men are missing, but we have different men. The feeling in Israel when you're walking around is, first of all, very proud and lots of flags. And there's Chayalim everywhere. And everywhere people stop with cars and giving food and packs and following people. And you see, every evening you get people that do barbecue for Chayalim. And it's amazing. And I can see many Chayalim in my issue that I don't recognize them. I know they came from different areas. Generally speaking, I can't speak in behalf of the Jewish people or even behalf of my street, right? But my feeling, the way I experience is there are a few things. First of all, there was a big shock. Then every time you're exposed to the evil and to the no words to say about the Hamas and about how bad they are and how opposite than us, you get a shock again and again. And it's in a way, it's a big shock. Like we were reading, the Parashat of Bereshit and Noach and Lech Lecha, and you feel like everything there was like a flood, and there's nothing that you've been expected to happen. There's a feeling that you're not secure, but that the land is shaking underneath you. But together with that, there's a very, very strong feeling of the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like the feeling is that I remember in the first day, the Motzei Shabbos, when I was walking around in the base and all those beds coming and all those chalalim, the chalalot, and you get a shock and you look and we were not talking, we just looked in each other's eyes. And I just said to myself, Tachlit hayediyah shelo neda, the tachlis, the meaning of knowing is not to know.
The ultimate purpose.
Thank you. I felt like it's bigger than me. It's greater than me. The more you think about it, you think, okay, Kadosh Baruch Hu made this situation. Of course, it's also following our behavior. And now this is the situation. And I have to do what I have to do. And I have to do it in the best way. And everybody together is trying really, really hard. I say to people, you think that my son in Gaza is fighting the Hamas, right? And when you think of him standing, he's in his tank or whatever, or walking, fighting against the Hamas people. So this is like a war between bad to good. Mamash. But if you think of the situation, if you look a little bit higher, it's like a situation of, in the spiritual way, there is a fight between good and bad. And this fight between good and bad is everywhere. I was fighting the Hamas in the base that I was working. I took this full soldier that was killed so brutally, and it was just horrendous no words to express. You've been shocked from what you see, and you just say, this is like a moment that I'm fighting the Hamas. I'm bringing holiness and softness, and I'm putting Hashem present here, putting pulling light, even a small light, לא עליך המלאכה לגמור, everybody have to do. But I'm just doing a little bit of good, and this is my fight. This is what I can do. And I feel in many aspects. I mean, it can be my team in Shura, it can be groups of people that's collecting money, and buying stuff for, I call it refugees, people from the Otef Gaza that have to move to hotels, or for the kidnapped families, or whatever you do, or supporting spiritually, financially, giving food, buying helmets and drones, or anything you do, we fight. We just do good. We add good. We just saying, this is us. We are the nation. We're calling Hashem's name, and we're bringing good to the world. So I feel for me that Shura was like a very powerful way to fight the Hamas, to bring good.
You used a beautiful phrase, aside from bringing holiness, you used a phrase to bring softness, Now, it moved me and it jumped out at me right away. I'm curious if you could elaborate. What does it mean to bring softness?
Just behaving from your inside out towards the halala that is lying down there on her way to be buried. And it's so like a contract to what was done to her before. The horror is like, I felt like there is an echo, and it hasn't been swallowed in the walls. It was there and sort of shouting. And we kept it shouting. We don't let it go. But for the neshama itself, we felt like we're letting it go free. We're just respecting. We're just keeping the tzniut, the modesty. We're covering. We're quiet. We think of this huge neshama that is between us, and we're lucky to just be with it in the room. I call it softness because it's against the hash and I can't even say words in Hebrew. So in English, it's even harder for me to describe how opposite it is, what this body went through and how we letting it go exactly on the opposite way. We call it heaven. I felt like when the body comes into Shura, into our base, it's like coming to heaven. Everybody like angels trying to do the best. And also angels in terms of shaliach. I'm not angel as only doing good. I'm angel as a shaliach.
As a messenger.
Yeah. And one job to do that you do. I felt for me what maybe gave me strength. I remember that, I think it was the third day of the war. It was Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. It was Rosh Chodesh. I said, I have to daven. I didn't have time too much for davening. And people said, do you go to see psychologists? And I said, yeah, I go to daven to scream to God like a Breslever in the forest. So this is my davening. And I went to say Hallel, and I said, Ana Hashem Oshiana, Ana Hashem Atzlichana, Toshia Otanu. And please, also I ask for Atzlacha, that I will do my job the best way I can. And I remember the story of Hasidim of Rebbe Migur, that they asked him to daven, and he said to them, say Ana Hashem, and they thought to say Ana Hashem Oshiana, please Hashem save us, Ana Hashem Atzlichana, give us success. And he said, no, you should say Ana Hashem Ani Avdecha, I'm your servant Hashem. And then I thought to myself, that's it, I am your servant Hashem. And I'm doing what I can because I'm serving you. And if you want me to fold a burnt body of a chayelet that was burnt, I'm doing it. And if you want me to collect money to give to people, I'm doing it. And if you want me to, buy another cornflakes for my kids for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so I'm doing it. I'm serving you. And I think it gives me a lot of koch.
That is truly a remarkable perspective. I'm curious, in the day-to-day functioning of Efrat, in the stores and businesses, cab drivers, whatever it is, is there a sense where you are that like a big part of the society is missing? And how does the town run when so many soldiers have been called up to serve?
So again, we see other soldiers. Usually when you walk around and you go to the supermarket, you see anyway the moms and the children, but it's definitely there that we are, I forgot the word in English for oref. Oref means the people that stay behind. And we speak a lot about it, that the oref need to be chazak. The oref need to be strong. That we give koach to the Chayalim. So we're all trying to work really hard. The Council of Efrat, we have shiurim and we have activities for kids. And I spoke to mothers of Chayalim. There was sessions with psychologists and trying to see how I am strong. When I speak to my husband and to my children, I'm trying to be positive, to say, well done. You're lucky that you are fighting the Hamas. Am Yisroel, you're bringing back the pride of Am Yisroel. You've been united with secular and religious and Haredi and everybody together. There's so much greatness for that. I went up north to one of the bases. I had to go, and my husband went down, and we met in one of the bases, and it was very funny. And I saw his soldiers, and they told me, wherever your husband goes, we go with him. And I said to him, just stay there, because you need to be when you need to be. Everybody has the shlichut, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put them, and you just do what you can. So the feeling, I feel it. Sometimes women break and cry and complain, and the kids drive them crazy. It's not easy. You can see more tired mothers in a way. But we all feel very proud of our Chayalim, and spoiling them and trying to do the best and trying to help. We have a community, people from Ashkelon had to leave their homes, came to stay in Efrat, and there were activities with them, and we tried to help them. In my shul, we organized Tfilat Halel for Rosh Chodesh Kislev, and more than 400 women came with a mother of children that were kidnapped from Kiryat Arba, and the women didn't stop crying for an hour and a half. But they were crying and dancing. Everything was part of Simcha Shel Rosh Chodesh, with the sadness and the worry about the Chayalim. I think people live life stronger, more connected, more aware, thinking more, okay, what does it mean to be Jewish? It's not only questions for unaffiliated European or American or Australian guy. It's a question for each of us. What does it mean to be Jewish? Things that I took for granted. What does it mean to be good? Would I stop to be nice to the Arabs that I was always nice to them and help them? Do I trust them again? There's so many questions that are coming up that just bring all of us to a higher level. I feel like it's sort of an inspiration, all the experiences. Speaking to people in the supermarket, and you get a different angle, a different opinion, that everything together, I think, bring up Am Yisroel to the next level.
I am getting a great deal of chizuk just being able to talk to you because, as you said earlier, you're not a famous personality. You bring a sense of transcendence to the ordinary, of that sense of mission and purpose to the everyday lives of what's happening with Amcha Yisrael in Israel. It's incredibly moving. I'm curious for you, you mentioned it a little bit, and you said you know everybody has moments where they break down and they fall apart. I'm curious, have you been in situations where you need to comfort other women who are home, they don't know what's going on with their husband, with their kids, or even for you wake up and I don't know how often you're able to be in touch with your children and your husband. How do you find that strength and that connectivity to be able to even go to sleep at night not knowing what's happening with your own family?
So first, I agree that I think I represent just the Amcha, כן? בתוך עמי אני יושבת. It's a pasuk from Melachim, from the book of Melachim.
Yeah,
I'm part of people. I can't say that I'm representing everybody, but I can speak about myself, because everybody have the moments that they, I don't want to say break, but they cry or they're scared or they lose it a little bit. Yeah. I remember once when my son went in the previous war, he was telling me that he's gone in the middle of the night inside Gaza. I got a fright. I remember it was really late at night, and I went to my computer and I went, how you do shopping online?
yeah.
So I was shopping online in a JGive or charity or something like this, and I started to do tzedakah quickly. Olam chesed yibaneh, and this is what I can do. And I went to sleep, and I actually slept very well. Sometimes you are worried. I had moments. I remember the first time that one of my son went into Gaza, and the first time is very scary. I opened my phone. I was in the middle of really working in the base with some of the chayalot that were identified, and we had to prepare them. And I see a message. They're taking my phone. I don't know when you can speak to me again. Love you, something like that. That moment, I ran to two people, really tzaddikim in my base, and I said, Itzik, Menachem, my son is going to Gaza. So Itzik said to me straight away, okay, give me his name. I'm calling my Rebbe. And I was like giving him his name, and I felt a little bit better. And then Menachem said to me, Noah, look at me now. Calm down immediately and go back to your work. Think good, will be good. And if you want to do something, keep doing good things, and that's it. And I felt like he, put me back to myself. So you have those moments that you're really scared, and I'm not afraid of them. When it happens, I said, okay, Noah, you don't think in a lot of sense. You're worried. You're thinking maybe it's your mother's sense, and you're worried about children or about specific child. And sometimes there's very good reason to be worried. So I think, okay, so it's time to daven. This is a different kind of a gate that you knock on the door. But yeah, I found myself, I can't say screaming, but I can say, yeah, I was screaming to Kadosh Baruch Hu, and I was saying, Hashem, the first Musaf, Tikanta Shabbat, Ratzita Korbonotea, like Kadosh Baruch Hu, we were such a smack on the face, so excited to be in Simchat Torah with you and being in Sukkot with you, and then we felt like, neglected.
Abandoned.
Yeah, abandoned. And then I think to myself, okay, you want me to feel abandoned, so I am definitely feeling abandoned. And in a way, you get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You don't want it that way. The more you don't understand, the more you understand that you don't understand, but you get closer.
I'm wondering when that turn for you was, where, in those moments of desperation and abandonment, you have a disposition that is very strong, very resilient. You even seem now, you're surrounded by death as part of your work. You're doing the kavod achron, the final honor that we give. And you have a family. You have kids at home now also.
Yeah, I have, my little one is 10. My youngest.
And you're managing a household, and you have a husband and children who are serving. I hate to repeat the same questions over and over again, but every time you speak, it helps me. Where do you draw upon this strength? Is this a product of your parents? Is it a product of your teachers? Where do you find this endless reservoir, this capacity? I always say, describe it, I have very limited capacity. If I can't find a parking spot, I fall apart. If I feel like one thing doesn't go your way, you fall apart. You say, okay, today's over. We'll try again tomorrow. And here you are. It's past 10 o'clock your time, and you seem to be drawing on an endless well of strength in a time where you have every reason to feel abandoned by God, by your people, by your own family isn't even with you. I just want to hear what's in your reservoir that you keep on drawing upon that gives you the strength that you have now.
I think I didn't do a good job then. I don't see it that way you see it. I think like you just do what you do, and everybody break, and everybody, I don't know if you've seen my sink lately, or I don't know. I feel like you do what you can. You do what you can. Maybe I go back to the same sentence, but in the end of the day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu give you kochot, and you do what you can with that. And I am limited. I'm very limited in many ways. If there's something that it happens and I can do it, so I'm trying to do it. So on Erev Yom Kippur, my father gave me bracha that you give to your children. You bless your children before Yom Kippur. And you say, one part of the blessing is to say that your legs will run for mitzvah and your hands will do good things. You'll have the fear of God, Yirat Hashem, on your face. I really remember that he said the words, and I was thinking of them strongly and asking Hashem, please listen to Abba. And then when I was blessing my kids, each one of them, I was really putting a lot of intention into it. And a few weeks later, when I was running around, and when you deal with all the situation with the chayalot, with the chalalot, you don't really have time to stop. You just do it. So I was blown away all of a sudden. I said, Hashem, you really listen to me. My legs are running and my hands are so busy. And all this fear, like the yira that I could feel of Hashem, I felt like I didn't imagine it that way. I would prefer to run and, dance at a wedding and do a simcha for someone than running there. But it was a very powerful moment for me to see that we got our body, and we can even physically, for each part of our body, we can do towards what we need to do for our shlichut.
You clearly have a very strong connection to davening, and I'm wondering if during the last few weeks, if there are specific tefillos, if there are specific prayers that you've been drawn to that have given you a particular comfort or perspective in this time.
I think one of them is tefillah ala tefillah, like to daven about your davening before you start even. Like when you come to tefillah, we don't have so much time for tefillah. So when you say Yidei Ratzon Imrei Fi Ve'Egion Libi Lefanecha, like when you ask about the tefillah, so you say, I really ask Hashem, that it's just open the door, come on. I don't have time to, this is one of them. I think a lot of thanking. Every time when I'm like getting a little bit of fears and stuff, I'm thinking I have so much to thank for. And Odaya is big. Tzama nafshi, tzama. It's getting stronger. I feel it because of the big smack that we experience. Maybe for dessert, but it's actually the main course and the appetizer is הריני מקבל על עצמי מצוות ואהבת לרעך כמוך.
There is a custom, I think it's from the Arizal, that before you daven, you should accept upon yourself loving every single Jew. Harei ani mekabel atzmi, I hereby accept upon myself the mitzvah, the commandment of ahavta l'recha kamocha, of loving the Jewish people. Why does that jump out at you?
In a way, like if I had, $1 million now to do a donation, to do something, I think I would put the money for kiruv between people, that Am Yisroel will feel closer. And there's a lot going on. I'm part of different groups with speaking to secular and to very left wing, and things are changing. It was really not good before. And even people that, always speak good about Am Yisroel, we all felt like we had enough, and we saw the bad, and everybody was speaking badly. And now with this war came this beautiful unity. I can't say it's perfect, but the majority of the people are very united. And you see, even in my unit, it. I have very secular people and people that think very opposite than me. And we just sit and we say, okay, we disagree. We disagree about this and about that. And we don't feel offended and we don't hate each other because of that. And I really want not to fall with that again, to think badly about Jewish people. And I really want to take this unity and reserve it. And that the day after the war, we're not going to start blaming and fighting again. We're not going to listen to the media. And we just listen to the people, and that we'll have a new leadership, more humble, more listening to each other, more loving, more accepting. I feel a big change. Even some of my family are Haredi, and they look at secular people in a different way, and everyone is so different. People just have more tolerance and more love, and we understand that we one piece.
I have a sister who's an Israeli Haredi. She lives in Sanhedrin Muchevet. And I'm curious, have you been in touch with your Haredi relatives?
Completely. They don't stop davening. They actually, one of my cousins, I think she needs help because she sits and says Tehillim all day. She's so worried about our children. They say Tehillim, they do Limud Torah. They're trying to help as much as they can. I think the whole way they look at the army is also different. Before the war, I had a plan. I made an appointment to meet someone from Beitar and to organize Haredi women meeting modern Orthodox women from Gush Etzion, from Efrat, from other places, because I felt like we don't know each other. I grew up here and I have some of my family are Haredi, so I'm more familiar, but I felt like my friends here, everybody has, they think about each other and they don't know really. So I felt like there's a lot of unity between Chilonim, secular and Frum people, but not between Frum and Haredi. And I think there's so much closeness now. In the hospitals, you see them, even not talking about Zaka and all what Zaka is doing.
Did that meeting ever take place, or this was interrupted because of the war?
It was because of the war. It will happen, Be'ezrat Hashem. I actually had, straight after Sukkot, I was supposed to be in Budapest. We had a conference I'm working for a project called Ola, which is a project for Jewish women in Europe. Together with Racheli Frankel, we're doing Torah Eretz Israel and Jewish identity. And
beautiful. We had Rabbanit Frankel on 1840 as well also.
Yeah, so she's my partner.
She's one of the most powerful guests that we had, and it is no surprise to me that you and her know each other.
Many people in America, we feel a big hug from our brothers and sisters overseas. I remember during COVID that we were talking in Israel that the Jewish people in America were suffering and how much we're approaching and supporting them. I just want to say that we need you and you need us and we all need each other. It's like a family. It's not like people from America that helping the people in Israel. I really feel that the support we get and we give and we connect and we speak about things, even this chat we have, we just one. It's physically maybe we're sitting in different places, but it's still one.
1,000%. I mean, we're two Jews. We've never met. We just found out about each other really a couple hours ago.
Right.
And here we are, and it really is a family. And I hope that this sense of unity and purpose, and that Kabbalah that you mentioned of Hareini Mekabel Atzmi, that I accept upon myself, mitzvahs Ve'ahavta l'orecha kamocha, that love of every Jew, that love of the Jewish people, that pride and purpose of the Jewish people, stays with us in an enduring, real, tangible way for a long time to come. And it's voices like yourself, Amcha representing Amcha, a person of the people representing the people, that gives me a great sense of optimism that we have discovered something that will not soon disappear. It should stay with us forever.
Amen.
Until we see the ultimate redemption. So thank you so much again, Noa, for joining and speaking with me today.
Thank you.
There is a moving idea that I once heard when I was studying in Ner Yisrael from Rabbi Frand, where he pointed out that after the cataclysmic event of Akedas Yitzchak, the ultimate sacrifice where Abraham is asked to sacrifice his son, and the angel intervenes and saves the son. So in that 22nd chapter in Sefer Bereshis, in Parshas Vayera, in the 19th verse, afterwards the Torah says, Vayoshav Avraham el Na'arav, and Abraham returned back to his servants, Vayakumu Vayelchu Yachdav, and they departed and they walked back together. And it's that language of Vayelchu Shnehem Yachdav, walking together, which is actually also at the beginning of the story. It kind of bookends the story as they're approaching. Avraham walks together with Yitzchak, and it says Vayelchu Shnehem Yachdav, they walk together. And what is so remarkable is that Avram and Yitzchak, they walk together. They're both performing this unimaginable sacrifice and walking to give up his most beloved son and this ultimate sacrifice, and they're walking together. But on the way back, what is probably most remarkable, and I think Reb Shamshon Hirsch says something quite similar, is that the ultimate Vayelchu Shnehem Yachdav is the one that when they're walking together on the way back, where Avraham, after facing this ultimate test, just falls back with his servants and they walk back together. He doesn't separate himself. He doesn't say, I've just been through the most cataclysmic, heroic event of my life and I was willing to give up everything. Instead, he walks back with his family, with the people, and he becomes, as Noah emphasized so many times, one of Amcha, one of the people. Vayelchu shnehem yachdav. And it is that second bookend at the close of the story where Avraham is walking together with his servants, where you see what a mission-driven and a purpose-driven life is. It means that we're not waiting for accolades, we're not waiting to go viral or to get the attention or the pictures or whatever it is. It is ready to do and to serve when called upon. And I think that this is a moment where we see nearly the entirety of the Jewish people, ki kol ha'eda kulam kadoshim, that inherent holiness, that inherent purposefulness of the Jewish people, all binding together, all joining together, all walking together, vayelchu shnehem yachdav, like Avraham and his servants following the Akedah Yitzchak, each one not completely knowing what they witnessed, what they experienced, what they've seen, but everyone knowing that I am called upon and I have a role to play in this redemptive experience. And I think that it's that sense and sentiment of the redemption where we're able to taste that everyone being able to find a purpose, discover a purpose, and participate in the ultimate purpose and the ultimate redemptive purpose of the Jewish people. It's that verse that introduces all of Pirkei Avos in the 60th chapter of Isaiah in Yeshayahu in the 21st verse. It's a beautiful pasuk that so many people may remember from studying Pirkei Avos because it introduces the entire volume. But the verse says, V'amech kulam tzadikim, and your entire people, all of them are righteous, la'olam yirshu aretz. And this is really the introduction where we talk about Kol Yisrael Yeshlam Chelek Olam Haba. Everybody, all nations of the Jewish people have a connection to that transcendent world, that world of the ultimate purpose. But it's that second half that interests me most, which is after saying the Amech Kulam Tzadikim, being able to see the righteousness and the holiness and the decency and the purposefulness of the entire Jewish people, which I believe we're beginning to see in this very moment. The next words are La'olam Yirshu Aretz. They shall forever possess the land. They shall have the land of Israel for all time. And I believe that these two are contingent and connected upon one another, and that to have the land and to possess the land and to unify Amcha Yisrael with Eretz Yisrael, to unify the Jewish people with the land of Israel, requires that moment and that collective acceptance of that invitation from history, where we all find that purpose in building up our people and building up our land and ultimately building up that redemptive future that we continue to long for. And it's in moments like this, and it's with people like Noah, that I begin to see, maybe you have to squint, maybe you lose the clarity for a moment or two, but we're beginning to see the moment that we're in of Amech Kulam Tzadikim, a generation that is finding each in their own way that righteousness, that holiness, that purposefulness. And God willing, that second part of that verse will also be fulfilled. La'olam Yirshu Aretz, that we will forever possess the land of Israel. So thank you so much for listening. This episode, like so many of our episodes, was edited by our dearest friend Dina Emerson. If you enjoyed this episode or any of our episodes, please subscribe, rate, review, tell your friends about it. You can also donate at 1840.org/donate. It really helps us reach new listeners and continue putting out great content. You can also leave us a voicemail with feedback or questions that we may play in a future episode, and that number is 516-519-3308. Once again, that number is 516-519-3308. If you'd like to learn more about this topic or some of the other great ones we've covered in the past, be sure to check out 1840.org. That's the number 18 followed by the word 40, FORTY, 1840.org, where you can also find videos, articles, recommended readings, and weekly emails. Thank you so much for listening, and stay curious, my friends.
Shomer Yisrael, Shemor She'eris Yisrael, V'yal Yovad Yisrael, Omrim Shema Yisrael, Shomer Ya